Hello everyone, I'm CoolGuy, welcome back. The Season of Opulence has brought back some old Destiny 1 exotics, the Titan's Paragon Greaves, which were brought back pretty similar into Destiny 2, the Warlock's Astrocyte Verse, which is actually buffed from what it was in Destiny 1, and the one that we're going to be talking about today, the Hunter's Khepri Sting, and it's completely reworked. Sorry for the delay on this, I don't take players' accounts, and when I get these items I put a lot of time into them, and as far as time, it takes me just long enough when I know the information's right. It's when I'm comfortable to put the video out, that's when I do it, so thank you for your patience. Here's the deal, I've heard a lot of players say really bad things about Khepri Sting, but I'm not so sure that the general consensus is true. They do have a place, and they do some things very, very well. I like them a lot, and I'll show you my findings with them, and with this review, it's more so showing you how to use them, how to maximize your potential when you throw these things on. It's almost like a guide because these get confusing, so we're going to talk about what works well, what you should be trying to do, and how to execute it. This is an odd exotic because it works and acts differently, and you need to do different things per skill tree. Because back in Destiny 1, these gloves granted invisibility on any subclass, including Blade Dancer and Gunslinger. You would crouch for a moment in time, you'd go invisible. If you meleeed an enemy from behind, you did 4 times the melee damage. If you hit them from the front, you poison them, like Thorn. Sounds amazing, right? But in Destiny 2, Touch of Venom has been reworked. Punching someone with full melee energy will instantly cast Smoke Bomb. You gain True Sight while in your own Smoke Bomb effect. It's important to note that the Smoke Bomb that you cast is going to be attached to the subclass that you're on. And the same goes for the Smoke Bomb effect, that's why we have a lot to go through. When you proc True Sight from your Smoke Bomb, it lasts for 3 seconds, it has a 2-second timer and double zero counts. It's also important to know that other friendly Smoke Bombs work with Khepri Sting. If you see a friendly smoke on the ground, you can run through it and it grants True Sight. Before we get into the bulk of the review, let's walk through what each tree does. For the top tree, Way of the Trapper, the Smoke Bomb is the Snare Bomb. It sticks to surfaces and detonates when enemies are near, slowing and disorienting them. When the grenade is thrown at your feet, you would have to shoot it to detonate it. That's how it grants the user True Sight. When you have a full melee charge, the melee drops a Snare Bomb on your enemy to disorient them. Middle tree is Spectral Blades. Smoke Bomb is Corrosive Smoke. It slows enemies and damages them over time. When the grenade's thrown at your feet, it does detonate and you do gain True Sight. When you melee an enemy with a full melee charge, the melee drops a Corrosive Bomb on the enemy, damaging them over time, slowing them down, you get True Sight. The bottom tree is Way of the Pathfinder. The Smoke Bomb is Vanish and Smoke. It creates a smoke cloud that makes you and nearby allies invisible, and when you drop it at your feet, you gain True Sight as well. When you melee an enemy with a full melee charge, it drops Vanish and you immediately go invisible right after you melee them, and also note that this tree also has Lockdown, where your grenade effects last twice as long. In certain situations, these can be really good, and how good is going to be depending on the user. It has some preparation that goes into it. It's not like a Stompy or a Ophidian aspect. It is, though, a viable option in PvE and PvP, and I can confidently say that. And before we get into its application, if you want to get the most out of these, you need Gambler's Dodge. Dodging near an enemy fully resets your melee ability. In the Night Stalker's case, the Smoke Bomb. For you to have any type of upkeep for this exotic, you need Gambler's Dodge. That's first, and if you want to go even further with it, you would invest in Paragon mods for the dodge and Impact mods for your melee. In all footage, I have on 3 melee and 2 Paragon. Again, it's important to have the melee charge passively or with a dodge to get it as much as you can. And being centered around the Smoke Bomb, unfortunately, it doesn't work for Gunslinger or Arcstrider like it did in Destiny 1. So for Khepri Sting, we'll go through all the Night Stalker trees because each one has some use. For these examples, it's easy to show some of them in a controlled setting like in PvP, but we also have some raw gameplay to go along with it afterwards. So the first tree, let's start off with Spectral Blades. Spectral Blades probably has the most utility for both PvE and PvP. This skill tree has Flawless Execution, which grants invisibility and True Sight after precision kill when crouched. Corrosive Smoke slows enemies, damages them over time. And then Shattering Strike. After performing a Flawless Execution, your melee attacks weaken enemies. Spectral Blades is going to be the big part of this review. We'll briefly go through the other trees for all aspects of the game. And as we're going through these, remember that it involves a Smoke Bomb and a melee to grant the Smoke Bomb effects. So in the grand scheme, the other trees don't really have that much utility to offer in PvE, but Spectral Blades does have some use. So for PvE, with Corrosive Smoke, you can throw it at your feet at any given time to get True Sight, but this isn't really what you want to do in PvE. You would just be granting yourself True Sight for 3 seconds to look for PvE enemies. That's not ideal. However, where it does shine is Spectral Blades has Shattering Strike. You shoot an ad while you're crouched, you go invisible for Flawless Execution. When you melee an enemy in this time frame, you apply a debuff to them. It allows you to do 50% more damage. It's huge. And since you're invisible, you're able to get close to yellow bars and bosses, so you can apply this Shattering Strike. When using Spectral Blades in PvE, you should be doing this every chance that you get. And where the Khepris comes in is since you're meleeing for the debuff anyway, you're going to drop the Corrosive Smoke. The Shattering Strike stuns them, but you're adding an extra layer of Poison Smoke to that area to slow them and damage them over time, and also to the area for any adds that run around. You gain True Sight right after, but that doesn't really matter, so you can dodge right after you apply the debuff with Shattering Strike to gain the melee charge back to apply the smoke on melee again. And due to how strong a debuff is for PvE, this is where Khepri's works best, because the exotic wants you to melee something, and you're going to be doing that anyway with Spectral Blades. So if you choose to use it in PvE, these are going to be pretty good, and you can do this a lot of the time, multiple times, because you have on Gambler's Dodge. Being invisible, getting to the enemy is huge. For Flawless Execution, the Corrosive Grenade adds that extra stun to the area, and you can get out no problem. And as we go through the other trees for PvE, you're going to see that Spectral Blades is the only real viable answer for Khepri Sting if you choose to use it there. For PvP, the Khepri Sting Spectral Blades is amazing. Let's talk about what we can do with it. With Spectral Blades, it has Corrosive Smoke, so you can throw it at your feet and gain True Sight. It's invaluable in PvP, elite, and really think about its application. You can do this a lot during a match because of your dodge and your mods, and that's why I have 3 impact mods, so I get that smoke bomb a little bit faster passively, but at any point, you can throw down the smoke bomb. You can get information on the enemy team. So think about comp here for a second. You start the game, you go mid-map, you throw it down, and you can call it out, hey, 2 are going left, 2 are going right, or hey, all 4 went right. Big information and 100% top tier for that reason alone. It's a big advantage on the other team. Another aspect is going to be close quarter combat. Say you're being chased down, or cover is in between you and your enemy, you throw the smoke down. You can then see them chasing you, and since it's the Corrosive Smoke, it's hard to see through it. But you can see them because you have True Sight. I've had a lot of plays doing this, and on the other hand, you can use it to be aggressive. You can throw the smoke down, get your information, poke around the corner real quick because you know exactly where they are to get actual Flawless Execution going. But here's where it gets interesting, and it really depends on what kind of Spectral Blades user you are, whether it's going to be Guizin, Jesters, Stompies. Here's what's cool about Khepri's, and for all you Spectral Blades hunters to try out in the Crucible. With Khepri Sting, there are 2 things that you want to do with it, and what's nice is you play Spectral the same way you would normally. You get True Sight by sniping, crouching headshots, chaperone headshots, whatever it is, you do what you would normally do. But you're going to be invisible because of the perk, and True Sight is what the entire subclass revolves around. Since you're invisible, you keep doing what you're doing, and a lot of enemy players lose sight of you in close quarters. So you could be searching for players, and on the opposite side of things, players can rush you. So once you're in True Sight, you can be aggressive, or enemies are going to come to you. Since you're invisible, you're either going to be searching out enemies, you're going to be going to them, or enemies are going to be coming to you because they know where you are. That's when you can start searching for melees, or have to melee an enemy because you have to. When you melee an enemy in PvP with Flawless Execution, you debuff them there as well, and with Khepri's you drop the Corrosive Smoke. The smoke damages you, slows you, and it's really hard to see through. If you've been hit by the Corrosive Smoke before, it's miserable. Again, you walk slow, you can't see well. It does damage over time. This melee right here, this combo with Khepri Sting is like a 99% win rate. It's very strong, and it's almost like this is the core reason why it was designed. Because what's happening is that once you melee them, you should jump back or move back. You have True Sight on them in your smoke cloud because it's hard to see through sometimes. They're going to be debuffed in one shot, and the best way to describe it is they're like a sitting duck, they're helpless. And in the background is multiple clips of this happening, but just note I'm deliberately taking my time to show you guys what I mean, how lost they get because of that smoke. It's brutal. And that's why it's my favorite sub for PvP, because this happens a lot. And you get to use Spectral Blades as you normally would. But when people rush you, or you go to seek them out to melee them, they're done. So that's kind of adding that to your neutral game. And again, the second part is gaining True Sight by smoking yourself. Play to these 2 things, and this exotic works really, really well. Let's move on to the other 2 trees. It won't take too long. For the top tree for PvE, you can't smoke yourself due to it being a snare bomb, and when you melee an enemy, it drops a snare bomb. You get no debuff, there's nothing like that. This is the Tether subclass, so no Orpheus rigs. It's a really tough subclass to have success with in PvE. For PvP, you can have some fun with it, but you can't use it the same way that you used it with Spectral Blades. Since it is snare, it's a trap, so if someone's rushing you, you can throw it on the ground, you can throw it on the wall, and as soon as you meet them, they get smoked, they're slowed, and you get True Sight to see them. Not to mention, you can shade step right after to go invisible. And that's one thing that we didn't talk about with Spectral Blades, but you need to do it if it's there. After you melee them and you drop the smoke bomb, you can immediately dodge, since you have Gambler's Dodge to get your melee back. But with this top tree though, it's going to be on the user. You need to incorporate invisibility with the dodge, you need to incorporate the traps, and one of the main things is you can't instantly give yourself True Sight since you have the snare. You would have to shoot it. Again, it's kind of a tough look for Khepri Sting. The bottom tree does have some utility for PvE. Say you're in a sticky situation, you melee an enemy, you go invis so you can grab a breather. It's kind of like Don't Touch Me's from Destiny 1. And again, with the subclass, your grenades last twice as long, so you can smoke yourself like you would anyway, gain invisibility, but you have True Sight for 3 seconds to look for ads. It doesn't really work well. The only really good thing is that you can melee an enemy, go invisible to grab a breather. In PvP, there are some shining moments. The pure motion of going invisible after a melee helps, and you can win those battles. After smoking yourself, you gain True Sight, see through walls, you're also invisible. That's kind of valuable. But Mobius Quiver kind of hinders you. It isn't the best super for PvP, it's a really tough one to use, and you have to be careful with it. And that's why I recommend Spectral Blades all around for Khepri Sting. It has the best PvE usage because you're going to be doing a melee for a debuff anyway. And for PvP, the Spectral Blades neutral game is one of the best in the entire game. You should be getting True Sight as much as you can, and when you do so, you're going to become invisible. In some way, shape, or form, the other subclass's main draw is invisibility at some point. With Spectral Blades, you play as you would normally, and you get that. And you're also going to have a high upkeep on True Sight because that's what the entire neutral game is about. Melees happen all the time, and again, you smoke them, debuff them, and you have a really high win percentage. Not to mention, a key one is that when you're in Flawless Execution True Sight, you get increased melee range. There's no doubt in my mind that the Khepri Sting was made for Spectral Blades. So in conclusion, these can work really well, and for this review, it was more so how to use them at their highest potential. When I first put them on, I was kind of underwhelmed, but the more I worked with them, I saw what you needed to do. I saw what they can do, and it's actually really good, so I wanted to put this out to help if you decide to throw on Khepri Sting. If you're new to the channel, remember to hit the subscribe button and hit the notification bell to see videos when they go live, or remember to like and comment if you guys see fit. And since these are so new, not everyone has them, and I know a lot of players are hating on them, especially since they were changed. But this is them now, and this is how they work, and I believe that they work really well. I just got all my sniper kills, and I'm getting ready to do my 3500 comp run for the Pinnacle Sniper, and I'm going to be using these the whole time for that run. And you can do different things, remember, like say I'm in between rounds and I have my super, I can just throw on the Guys and things like that. But what are your thoughts on Khepri Sting? Try some of the things that we talked about in this review to get the most out of them. Thank you guys so much for watching, spending a little bit of your day with me, and until the next one, I am CoolGuy.